will, will give evidence, testify that the Prophet is telling the truth and the people are lying. The message had been delivered. And then the people will object and say, how do these people know that the Prophet is telling the truth? Because they came after us. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask the people why, how they know what is the truth. And the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the last ummah, will testify that the Prophet is telling the truth because the book of Allah, the Quran, says that all the messengers delivered the message, all the people received the message. So the ummah will testify that the book of Allah is the truth. It is speaking the truth, and based on that, the testimony will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So viewers, it's not a small thing, it's not a joke. It's a very serious matter. It's a matter of eternity. This is not something, imagine today with internet, there is hardly any person in the world who doesn't know about Islam. What are they going to say to Allah on the Day of Judgment? They spent years and years and years listening to nonsense which has no value even in this world. And the truth, how are they going to deny that they did not know about the truth? So the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given is very valuable. It's a matter of eternity. You see, most of the things in the media are talking about things which are not as much as worth, is not as much as a wing of a mosquito. So imagine the whole world is talking about something which in the sight of Allah is not as much as a wing of a mosquito. And something which is very valuable is not even mentioned. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept success not in things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept success in the deeds that come from the body of the person. The person who is given a life, who's given eyes, who's given ears, who's given limbs, these are things that will determine whether a person is going to be successful or not. It is said, these something to the effect that every person has a name written on hell, in a place in hell and in a place in paradise. And the person who is going to hell will be shown his place in paradise, and he will be told that you would have gone there if the deeds that you did were pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when he sees the place where he would have gone, you can imagine the remorse, the sadness, the grief he will experience at that time. And the same thing will happen to a person who is going to Jannah. He will be shown his place in Jahannam, in hell. He said, if you had not done what you did, you would have gone in this place. And can you imagine the happiness he would experience? So all these things are there for human beings to know, and science is not able to tell this. You see, scientists can only tell about things that they can observe. For example, a meteorologist can tell that the weather is going to be, there's going to be a storm. So based on his knowledge, he tells people that tomorrow there's going to be a hurricane or tornado or whatever, because he can observe the pattern, he can see what's coming. And based on his knowledge, people don't see that, but they believe what he's saying because of his knowledge. So as far as they're concerned, that event or that weather pattern that's coming is not visible to them, but they believe him. In the same way, the prophets are the the experts of the unseen, and they're telling people that the day of judgment is coming, and it is certain. Whether the meteorologist can be wrong, but the prophet cannot be wrong. The weather he's predicting, that it can change, but the day of judgment is certain. So the news that the Prophet is giving, the Prophet is a truthful witness, is 100% right. And he's talking about a future that is certain. Tomorrow is not certain. It can happen, it cannot happen. Who could have imagined some months ago that the whole world would be in a state of lockdown? People would be wearing masks and people would be uh, in their homes, not be able to go out and work. Nobody could have predicted that just a few months ago. But see how things have changed. So this is a very important lesson for mankind, that a day is coming where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to question each and every person about how he spent his life, how he earned his living, how he spent what he earned, and how he acted on the knowledge that he had, and how did he spend his youth. Especially youth is a time where people feel they are in complete control of their lives and they can decide whatever they want to decide, that the whole world is open for them and they are the masters of the world. But as they grow old, they start seeing the reality that they are not the masters, these things are not in their hands. And they see that the world is slipping out of their hands. And then, of course, it's too late. So what the prophets have predicted is going to be true. A time is coming where people will have to give an account for everything. So all these reminders which the Quran gives, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives, is for the benefit of the creation. Just imagine if the human being was not born, he would not have an opportunity to go to paradise. If the human being was not created as a human, he was created as an animal, he would not have that opportunity. So it's a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah has made us human beings. And it's a big blessing of Allah that the Muslims are the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're born in the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is said that many prophets wanted to be the last prophet. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told them that He had already selected the last prophet. And some of them wanted to be in the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a great honor. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the prophets that He selected that also. So He has already selected who is going to be in that ummah. And it's said that this ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last ummah, but it will be the first ummah in Jannah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will have the largest number of followers in paradise. All this is a matter of great importance. What people think to be of importance is of no importance. Imagine these heads of states, people who are big shots, presidents of countries and corporations, and they're doing things thinking they are doing great things. But these things have no value in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is going to be of no use on the Day of Judgment unless they use their positions, unless they use their money, their resources to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the Day of Judgment, they will have regret that what we thought was success is not success. We just wasted our lives. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told his companions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful, He is the most just. He has fixed a day. You see, in this world, we don't see justice. We see people suffering for years and years and years. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. He could stop that. He could give everything to everybody and make everybody happy in this world. But this is not the way He designed it. He could have made this life into paradise. But Allah has decreed that He has a system by which He is going to determine who will go to paradise and who will go to Jahannam. Or people will have to look in that their records will be there. People who are given the book of record in their right hand will be successful. Just like in this life, people who graduate on the day of the graduation, you see their joy on their faces and how happy they are that they have passed. Similarly, on the day of judgment, people who are given the record in the right hand, they will be rejoicing, they will be happy. And now the life of pleasure will start for them. And this is something that every human being should strive for. Every human being should be looking in that, focusing on a future which is certain. There's no certainty that a person who gets a degree will get any benefit out of it. How many people we know, they got degrees, but they did not live long enough to benefit from the degrees. They got very good jobs, but they didn't live long enough to benefit from that job. We hear stories of people who worked years and years and years, worked very hard, and just as they were about to start getting the benefits of their efforts, the life was taken away from them. So this is not a place, this life is not a place of pleasure, it's a place of testing. Unfortunately, people are not given the right information. The shaitan keeps confusing people and keeps misleading people and makes them think that this life was designed by Allah for pleasure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not mentioned a single ayat, single verse in the Quran that I made this life for enjoyment. This life is not for enjoyment. This life is for test. In the process, if this was for enjoyment, then the prophets would have been the ones who would have enjoyed the most. Their lives would have been, because they were the best of people, they were the dearest of all to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He would have given them the most enjoyment. But their lives were very simple. They lived very simple lives, and they suffered greatly. We know the hadith about Isa alayhi salam, that he had nothing of this world. And he kept giving the message, and people were rejecting the message. Very few people actually accepted his message. They were looking to the people of that time, the people of might, the people of wealth, and this is the same thing today. Even those who claim to be his followers are pursuing the world, the material things, just like anybody else, not knowing that Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, was a very humble person with nothing, no worldly possessions and no power. And now millions of people consider him to be God. This is the way of the world. That when somebody comes with the truth, they reject him and they don't pay any attention. But when time passes, they begin to see this life is a deception. And this time is very valuable. So all the prophets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent came and lived in hardship. They had to struggle. Musa alayhi salam, Moses, he could have lived in the palace of the Pharaoh. He could have been brought up as a prince. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had different plan for him. He had to struggle. He had to go through hardship. But he gave the message to Pharaoh, to the king. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after the message had been delivered, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed the Pharaoh. So people have to understand that this life is very serious. It's not a joke. Allah didn't make this life for play, for idle sport. He made this life for a reason, and he gave human beings intelligence. And it is sad to see millions and millions of people wasting their time over nonsense which has no value whatsoever. And people have to start coming back to reality. Otherwise, there will be question on the day of judgment. Was no message given to you? Were you not warned? And can you imagine the grief they will have when they see the Jahannam, see the hellfire, and they see that there is no escape, people will try to escape, they'll try to run away. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this day I've closed the doors. You cannot run away. In this life, people are able to escape the punishment for their misdeeds, for their wrongdoing, for their crimes. If they can get expensive lawyers, they can get contacts, they might be able to avoid the punishment in this life. But in that life, no one will be able to avoid the punishment. The people will they will try a different thing, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not allow. He is the most just. So the day of judgment is a day of justice. And we know in this life there is no justice, even though there may be a lot of courts and judges and police, but even with all that, there is no justice. And the people know that if they have some if they have some contacts, they'll be able to get away, avoid the consequences. That's why there's a lot of wrongdoing, a lot of corruption, a lot of bad things happen, because they know they can get away with it. But on the day of judgment, no one will be able to get away with it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is keeping a record. And this is very important for all mankind. The internet is now available to everybody. No one will be able to deny that the message was not given. So people should pay close attention and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance and guidance to the right path. Otherwise, it will be a time of regret. So we ask Allah to forgive us and put us on the right path. Wa akhirat dawana in alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.